Welcome to the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast, where you learn the best doubles lessons to improve your game and win more matches while getting to know some of the top doubles players and coaches on the planet. I'm your host, Will Bochek. This podcast, my weekly strategy newsletter, and my website all focus on the goal of better understanding the sport of doubles and helping players like you improve faster through actionable advice that you can use in your very next match. My goal is to provide the best doubles resources in the world. And to do that, I study, analyze, and work with players at every level of the game, all the way up to the ATP and WTA tours. If you enjoy this podcast, consider becoming a Tennis Tribe member to go even deeper and take your doubles IQ to the next level. Members get access to premium podcast episodes, weekly video lessons, monthly strategy webinars, courses, ebooks, gear discounts, and a lot more. Go to thetennistribe.com/memberships to see all the benefits and sign up. Here's today's episode. You're about to hear a brief conversation with the top American on the ATP Doubles Tour, Christian Harrison. Christian started the year in the 80s and is now number 15 in the world. He had one of the best years of anybody on the ATP Doubles Tour, alongside his partner for the year, Evan King. We reflected on the year in this conversation, and then we transitioned to focusing on the offseason, where he is now. He's currently training in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with his 2026 partner, Neal Skupski. We talk about what they did that specific day, what the training session looked like. I asked him how he goes about training or planning his off-season overall. And then we discussed what adjustments he's going to need to make transitioning from playing with Evan King, who is a lefty, where Christian returned in the ad court so that they had forehands in the middle. And then next year, he'll be playing in the deuce court with Neal, who is an ad court returner historically. We also talked about the British tennis system a little bit and how he'll be able to take advantage of that playing alongside Neal, who is a British player. And then at the end, I asked him a few rapid fire questions, including his favorite racket, tournament, tennis book, and then what one change he would make to the doubles tour. This is a pretty short conversation. If you want to hear more from Christian, definitely check out his podcast on Control the Controllables with Dan Kiernan, which I will link to in the show notes as well. But without further delay, enjoy this brief conversation, mostly focused on off-season training with Christian Harrison. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have Christian Harrison on. Christian, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking today.
So last time we chatted on the show was in Dallas, and y'all ended up winning that tournament, you and Evan, and then had a pretty big run after that and had a strong finish to the year. If I had told you on January 1st, 2025, that we would be sitting here right before Christmas talking, and you would be the number 15 doubles player in the world, and you'd be training with a Grand Slam champion who will be your partner next year, what would you have said?
Would have taken it 100%. You know, since we're with doubles, you know, it's tough to break through, especially with the limited number of spots. You know, something that obviously felt like we could do it. And then, you know, for Evan and I, it happened pretty quick when we started playing. You know, I knew at that time that we were going to have a good partnership, and it happened quick. And luckily we were prepared, and we took advantage, and we were ready for our opportunities. But, you know, that being said, gotta be happy with the progress we made, and then excited to be sitting here in this position right now.
What do you make of kind of the year overall? Obviously there was, you won several tournaments together. You had some challenging tournaments as well, where you maybe lost first round when you felt like you shouldn't have. Obviously increasing your ranking that much from the 80s up to top 20, top 15 is, like you said, you've got to take that. But what do you kind of attribute that to overall, for yourself and then you and Evan kind of as a partnership?
Yeah, I mean, it shows that, we had the ability to do it. It also shows that there's just a lot of good teams out there too. So you can't take it for granted. So we definitely weren't going to do that. We got some momentum, and when the margins are small and you get confidence, those things can flip your way, which they were early on. And then obviously it's just, yeah, like I said, the margins are so thin that, you lose a tight match here and there. You're not anything's necessarily going wrong. It's just, it goes to show that just the level of everybody out there, everybody I feel like is playing doubles the right way. Everybody knows how to take away space, make you feel pressure. So then sometimes it's just, yeah, it's just thin margins and just being ready. And like I said, we were proud. I was proud of us for how we, were able to come through and get into some of the positions that we were able to.
You're in Baton Rouge. You're training with your partner to start next year, Neal Skupski.
Mhm.
Um, I want to ask about kind of the off season overall. Are you somebody who like sits down at the end of the year and plans out your entire off season, or do you go kind of week by week or day by day? How do you think about the off season and how do you try to maximize that time?
Yeah, I mean, now a new partnership, you want to try to get familiar with each other. So we definitely had it planned out. Neil and I, he's close here in Louisiana. He spends a lot of time in Baton Rouge. I think for us, I was home the first portion of it. He won a lot of matches late in the year. So then he had taken a little holiday for some of the days, like around the 29th. So I knew he was going to be gone. Um, then obviously I felt like I'd already spent quite a few weeks at home. And so it made more sense, for me to come here to Baton Rouge, spend some time with him so he could also be home. And I think any partnership like that, you kind of do what's, best for the team like that and make decisions. But it is, yeah, it's planned out. And, you try to make pretty much just a good plan that you feel like will allow you to rest, but also be comfortable to have your best chance to start, with good chemistry, playing together.
From your last match in Turin at the ATP finals, how long did you take a little bit of a vacation or did you not pick up a racket for a week? How did that look
Yeah,
for
I
you?
didn't take a vacation or go anywhere. I just went home just because had just been gone so much throughout the year. I didn't really have anywhere that I wanted to go. I feel like we got to go to some pretty cool spots throughout the year. I took about a week off. And then when I started back hitting again, just that first week was a little bit lighter. And then I don't know, I love hitting and playing. So then I had about 2 easy weeks, I would say, and then got right back into it.
What did today look like for you and Neil? Talk
We
about
just
like
went,
the
yeah.
details too. I like to get into kind of the details. What time did you wake up? What'd you have for breakfast? When did y'all start training? What did the day
Today was
look
actually
like?
a good day for that. So I woke up
Okay.
7:30. I
Okay.
was going through getting a little coffee and some breakfast, and then decided to go through delicious donuts. I was in the drive-through line there to get a little snack, and somebody started honking at me and hey, you got a flat tire. So then I had to get out of the car and look and see that my tire was flat, and I still had a couple miles to go. I was like, all right, I'll just drive it to the courts. I'd rather deal with the flat tire there. So get there so I can get ready to practice. I strung a racket beforehand and then here at LSU. And then Neil and I, we had Danny Bryan, who's the coach, and then one of the other coaches hitting in so we could do get four on a court and do a bunch of just different scenarios. Today we were just working on a lot of it's just positioning and getting used to like how his ball is, for how I need to move off when he's hitting and vice versa. Um, and we just ran through a bunch of just different scenarios with him rallying at the back, me rallying at the back, him putting pressure, stirs and returns, as well as just a few things where we're both at the net together for when that comes up and just try to get used to just being on the court on the same side of the net together. So then that's what we were pretty much trying to get as familiar with as we could right now.
How many
And then
hours on
that
the court
changed.
today?
We were on the court 2.5 hours this morning, and then when we finished, we all had a team effort to change the flat tire and get the spare
Okay.
rental car. So then that
Okay,
was
nice.
fun. Then we went back to a little cafe and just hung out for a little bit, and then that's taken us right to here today.
Awesome. You mentioned serves and returns. You're going to be returning from the deuce court, which is a change from this year. What adjustments will you need to make, and how do you kind of look at that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel like everybody's going to have at least a little bit of preference on their sides. For me, I'd always played the deuce side most of my life, especially because I used to
Hmm.
play with my brother. He always played the ad side. Um, so for me, I would say I'm more comfortable on it because it actually took me a little bit more when I was like playing the ad side to adjust to that side. So I think for me, I'm excited to get back on the deuce side just because it was the side I've been wanting to play the most. But when you're playing with the lefty, it just makes more sense to have, the forehands in the middle, especially with how Evan and I play. I think that suited us best. But, Neal's always played outside. He's great over there. And then I feel like I would like to play the deuce side more often. So then that part of it worked out well for us. So then I've been excited to get back on the deuce side as well.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to be a quick, like, easy transition if that's what you've played historically.
Yeah, I played
Um,
it. I played the deuce. I played with Rajiv 2 tournaments last year. Actually, the first tournament that allowed Evan and I to start getting into tournaments was just because I had gotten some points with Rajiv in Auckland where we made the finals and was on the deuce side that week. So I had a handful of tournaments last year, and then um, so yeah, definitely excited. I mean, anytime you change something like that, it's for me. Like I said, I played it more often than not. So then, and I would say it's my slight preference. So then, yeah, I'm happy to be back over there.
how did the partnership come about? We know that Neal played with Joe Salisbury this year. They had a great year as well. And then Joe's taking some time off now, and of course, we wish him all the best. Did Neal reach out to you after that, or did you reach out to Neal? What can you kind of share in terms of how the partnership
Yeah,
was
we
formed?
just honestly it was just mutual friends. Probably even Danny Bryan was the coach at LSU. I know Danny well, and then one of my other buddies, Colt. They were just, Neil was obviously got to the point where he was looking, and people were starting to change. Then it's trying to see like who's available, and it's still 3 months left till the start of the season. The next year, that's when I think guys start like looking around. And then obviously like I've known Neil well, and then Danny, who he talks to all the time, kind of like reached out and just put us in contact that way. And then we just had a chat, and then um, just ultimately that's sometimes how just situations come about. But there's going to be a handful of people that are splitting up, looking for partner changes for various reasons, not always just because there's a problem or anything, but just you're around each other a lot and you want to spend time with people who you know well. And so sometimes it's just as simple as that.
Yeah. What are the differences in terms of kind of playing style that you see between Evan and Neal, and then what adjustments are you going to need to make, do you think, with your own game?
Yeah, that's what the more that we play together the next couple of weeks and start playing against teams, you'll have a better idea. But I mean, they're both such good players and they can hit from the back and both volley so well that, it's similar. Just one person's right-handed, the other person's left-handed. And, you know, um, so for me, just the more that Neil and I play, then I think I'll have a better idea of how we're going to be changing our points and stuff. We'll still have a couple more weeks to play practices and stuff before our first tournament. But yeah, given that they both can hit from the back and, it's not a change like someone serving and volleying and only playing at the net where the setup of the points are going to be completely different. That's also something that you look at and you're like, okay, these are like kind of could be a lot of similar scenarios to what we're coming up, especially more so on our serving side, and then both of them great returners as well.
Hmm.
So then for me, it's just I feel like um, Yeah, just the way they play. They I feel like the two guys that can have a great all around game.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. They're both so good from the baseline.
Mhm.
So Neil is a part of obviously he's British, part of this British tennis system that's having so much success under
Mhm.
Louis Caillet. Do you have an idea of how you'll get to like learn from and help like use some of the British tennis system for your own game?
Yeah, a little bit. I just feel like they pay attention to every little detail so much. Every practice, there's feedback just so much on just positioning, being in the right spot, being accountable for the mistakes you make when you're playing, especially when it's positioning and things like that. I feel like they just got such a good team around them, and Louis does such a good job just being involved with all the players and their partners so far from what I've seen, and lucky to have him and then Ken as well, Neil's brother, who has all the experience in the world, and um, get great feedback already from Ken every single day. So for me, it's I think it's a good spot to be motivated and know that there's a great group of people there that want to help you, and it makes you want to obviously push as hard as you can, and try to bring the best out of each other this year.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a great kind of opportunity for anybody to learn. I mean, I've just learned a ton having a lot of those British guys, including Louis, on the podcast,
Hmm.
and just kind of picking their brain, you know. And I feel like if I were chatting with like an up and coming doubles player or something and they're looking for a partner, I would almost try to encourage people to like, you know, if you can play with a British player for like a year or two and like kind of learn some of what they're doing, it's a great idea, or at least kind of study what they're doing because
Hmm.
they're obviously having so much success with, I think they had
Yeah.
like five players in the ATP finals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, or maybe more than that. But anyways, it's really impressive what they're doing. Um, so I listened to your episode with Dan on Control the Controllables, which I'll link to in the show notes for people who want to listen. And it was a great episode. You dove into your family background, Bollettieri's, your training as a junior. But one of the other things y'all talked about was some of your injuries. I'm always curious when somebody has a history of injuries like that, and it sounds like a lot of yours were just kind of unlucky. But what did you learn from that experience, and then how do you take care of your body today?
Yeah, I mean, I learned how much I love the game, how much you can overcome just from staying committed and not giving up, and making the adjustments, whether it's like training, managing, whenever it's needed. Um, for me, I never lost like just the passion for just playing and just being on the tennis court and that aspect of it. And then in terms of like now, playing doubles, I felt like was the perfect thing for me. Like I love it. Yeah, I just love everything that goes into it. The matches, being around, like just trying to achieve something on that side. And then just being able to just still play and have like an athlete's lifestyle, that still get to play hopefully for quite a few more years, and obviously just not pushing too hard on the days where you feel like it's not right. Don't force it. And then that's the biggest adjustments that I've made, and then sometimes mainly training like one good session a day instead of like going two sessions on the court a day, which
Hmm.
sometimes can high risk, high reward. You can get in good shape. You're hitting a lot of balls, but at a certain point, you know, your body's going to say no doing that. I think that's something that a lot of guys do now, where they focus on one good session, especially with how demanding everything is. So I think that's allowed me to really maintain consistency in my training, and then not feel like you're making progress and having to stop for a little while and then trying to pick back up on the progress you had previously made.
Hmm. What about off court training? Have you changed anything about your warm up routine or in the gym?
Yeah, the only thing I don't do as much of is like just too much impact training, like not too much, just like sprinting, running, things like I'll go easy, like jog and distance sometimes, just because I feel like I like to do it, and it's not too much stress on my joints. But any type of like the hard landing, explosive moves with like weights and stuff like that, that I think pay off in turn because it helps you be like improve and be more athletic and more powerful. But with my history and everything, anytime I would try to start doing any too much explosive type stuff, especially like holding weights or too many jumping and landing, like yes, there's a lot of like good stuff sometimes that you can improve and really become more athletic doing those things. But for me, it was just outweighing, like when the risk reward, like this stuff
Mm-hmm.
can help me, but I feel like I was risking sometimes feeling sore the next day or maybe straining a muscle and missing 4 to 6 weeks. So I try not to take risk like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always that balance, right? And just kind of knowing your body, how much you can push each
Exactly.
day. So I want to move on to a couple of kind of rapid fire questions and then we will hop off here. What is your favorite tennis racket of all time?
The Babolat like arrow, like I don't know if it's like the Arrow Storm, I think. I don't even know the
Okay.
name of it, but I think it's the Arrow Storm because they changed the names. It's like the thin 1620 Babolat arrow.
Okay. What's your favorite tournament?
My favorite tournament is Wimbledon.
Favorite tennis book?
And this book, I read Sampras's book, and honestly, I can't say I read a whole lot of books, but that was one of the ones I completed. But also just because I was always Sampras like was my favorite player growing up, so I'd have to say his.
If you could make one change to the doubles tour, what would it be?
Hmm. I don't have honestly. I think just Lex right now. That's just in tennis in general. I don't have one specific thing for the doubles tour to change other than just more marketing, maybe more marketing of teams. I
Yeah.
think people can really bond and get behind like a team aspect of players that are playing for a little while together,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with
especially
the
at the
Let's
start
one.
of this, especially at the start of the season though. But in terms of exposure, I mean, you market teams and who's playing with who together, then that's what I feel like people start to recognize a lot. And obviously there's some changes here and there with that, but it's going to happen. But I think for the ones that are playing for a while together, I think that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you on the Let's, and then the marketing kind of answers my next question. What request would you make from the tour to help make doubles more popular?
Yeah, just marketing for the players. Everybody, I think fans and tennis fans, they like to watch who they know, what they've seen being promoted, content that they like. I think anything like with exposure like that brings out more recognition.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like we've seen a little more on the double side the last few years, but hopefully that trend really continues. Christian, well, thanks for coming on, man. We will
Hey, thanks for
hopefully
having
chat
me.
again. Yeah, we'll hopefully
Hey,
chat again next year, and best of luck
hey,
with Neil. I know,
happy
know y'all are
holidays,
doing
and
great.
talk soon. Talk soon.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks. See you later.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast. If you're interested in diving deeper into the world of doubles strategy, I've created Tennis Tribe memberships that allow me to bring you more podcast episodes, video lessons, webinars, and other doubles content on a weekly basis without relying on paid ads. The lessons inside the membership will help you better game plan with your partner, optimize your practices, and become the smartest player on the court. Go to thetennistribe.com/memberships to learn more and sign up. You can also join my free newsletter on our homepage, where I share a new doubles lesson every week. If you want to connect, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or contact me through our website. Thanks again for listening.